Hey guys, hello. Welcome to another edition of Deep Dive Podcast. This is episode 18. Yeah, Tim's here, and then we have Jeff with Ghost Quest Solo as our guest today. So, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being on.
Thank you
And
for having me.
yeah, and we're
Uh,
definitely not at a normal time slot, but this is what works for Jeff, and we are accommodating. So, all good, all good. So we already have a Jen. Hello. Welcome.
What's up, Jen?
Happy
Yes.
Mother.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I should say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Thanks for joining us on this special edition. Go ahead, Jeff. What was you going to say?
Oh, I work strange hours. I work second shift, so it's hard for me to sort of have a somewhat normal life. That's probably part of the reason why we're doing this today.
Gotcha. No worries at all. We don't mind. People have their reasons for picking certain times,
sure.
and we like to be as accommodating as we possibly can be. So, um,
No, I
oh,
appreciate the accommodation. Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks, Jen. Um, yeah, so special noontime edition of Deep Dive podcast. I think you did send me a bio, and I don't. It's in my folder somewhere. Ha. Um, all right, a couple quick announcements, and then we're just gonna let Jeff talk.
No,
So
no, no pressure. No pressure.
yeah, no pressure.
None, none.
Yeah. Wednesday, we have Ghostlight Paranormal. They are going to be our guests. And then Sunday, the 17th, we have Beyond Life Research or Paranormal Research of Missouri. That is Russell. If any of you guys tune in to him, I know he does a podcast as well. Lord, I'm looking for it. I just don't know where it's at. I was freaking out because I couldn't get on the podcast earlier, and I'm like, it was telling me the traffic was way too high. So, um, yeah, hold on just a second. Leave it alone. My dead
Maybe
bell
she
dawned,
just
and
had,
I was,
maybe I, did you find it?
I have not. My dead bell dawned, and it scared the crap
Oh,
out of me, but it was
I'll
my
tell you what,
cat.
then Jeff, you kick it off for us. You tell us.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, how long you've been in, all that good stuff.
Have you ever had anybody just completely freeze up on a live, just go complete deer in the headlights? Like,
You
Yep,
know
yep.
what? We are super relaxed here. Don't worry about it. You are good.
um, my bio. Let's see if I can remember some things about myself. Uh, I investigate under the name Ghost Quest Solo. I've been doing solo investigations for about 2 years. I started off investigating with a group about 4 years ago, and then I did that for 2 years, and then for the last 2 years, I've been doing solo stuff as Ghost Quest Solo. It's been quite an interesting journey, to say the least. I've been to some amazing places. I've got to meet some amazing people. Some of them seem to be in the chat room. I do a lot of collaborations and public events lately with some of the people that are here, so I'm having a lot of fun doing that.
Right. Awesome. I did find it. Woo! Um, so, Sue did pop in.
Yeah,
I think
so
there. So yeah, hello. Thank you so much for joining. So in this, it says you've had um, a long life curiosity and passions for all things strange. So talk a little bit more about that. Do you also get into like cryptids?
yeah, I'm 45 years old now. So like when I was a little kid, this was like pre YouTube, pre Spotify. There was none of that. There was no internet. So like back in the day, being a 7 or 8 year old boy, like when a Bigfoot special would come on TV or like a UFO special came on TV, in my mind that was a big deal. I always used to like look forward to that kind of stuff. I don't really know where that came from, I just remember it always being there, like being curious and interested in all things strange, all forms of high strangeness, really, like aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot. I mean, even as a kid, like Loch Ness Monster, weird stuff like that. I'd always had a curiosity for the unknown, and I think there was a period of time where I think, I can only speak for myself, being a 16-year-old boy, like I think I steered away from that strange stuff for a period of time, because you're at a very impressionable age where, like, not too many 16-year-old boys are going to walk around talking about Bigfoot and ghosts. You know what I mean? Probably get laughed at. At least I feel like I would have been laughed at. So, like, it kind of went away for a little bit, and then I want to say, like, in my early 20s, when it started to make, the paranormal stuff started to become a little bit more popular, at least in my world anyway, like a lot of the shows that came on TV that we're probably all familiar with. I started getting back into it through that. And I would say, I think in my early 30s, I'm trying to think of when this happened. This was in my early 30s. I started actually having my own paranormal experiences, right? The apartment that I'm still living in now, I've been here for like 13 years. So, like, when I first moved into the apartment that I'm living in now, I started having my first paranormal experiences. So I went from being like somebody that was more of like, I was really more curious about it. I wouldn't have considered myself a believer back then. It was more of like I was more of like a fanboy, I guess you could say, of all this stuff. But then when I started having my own experiences, that sort of like, I think that reignited and strengthened that curiosity that had always been there for like the unknown. You like, when you're seeing things with your own eyes that aren't really supposed to exist, there's sort of a transition period that I kind of went through when I started having my own experiences. I think I was in denial at first. I was convincing myself that, maybe I'm seeing things, my eyes are playing tricks on me, maybe I'm going crazy. Even though I knew I wasn't going crazy, I was just trying to find a rational explanation for what was happening. Like, I'm seeing things. Again, this is coming from somebody that had a lifelong fascination. I loved all the shows, but then when it started happening to me, I'm like, oh, come on, like, what's going on here? I was trying to find any sort of reason or explanation for what was going on other than what was actually happening. But it gets to the point where I think I went from denial to becoming a believer, because you start having, it gets to the point where you just can't deny it anymore, really, is what it boils down to. Like where I'm sitting right now, I'm in my living room. To the left of me is my bedroom, and that's where I started having a lot of these experiences, probably less than 10 feet from where I am right now. It started off, I would be laying in bed watching TV, and like I started having this shadow figure like poking his head around the door frame, like peeking in on me, and like it's quite an intense experience when that happens, because again, like it's a fear that can't really be described in words, I guess, when it happens. And I'd be like, other things would happen. Like I'd be laying in bed and like the same doorway, like something would walk by, and then it would walk by again. And the weird thing about the paranormal activity that was happening, there never seemed to be any sort of like rhyme or reason. You know what I mean? There was, as far as I could tell, I never picked up any rhyme or reason or pattern to it. It would happen one night, and then maybe a week or a month would go by, maybe even a year, and I would see it again. And long story short, that's when I started having my own personal experiences. That's when it reignited that sort of curiosity and passion that I had. But I can describe a couple other experiences I had. Along with all the stuff that was going on in the doorway of my bedroom, periodically I would be standing in the bathroom at the toilet relieving myself, and because I lived alone at the time, I would always leave the door open. There was never any reason to shut the door, and I would be standing there at the toilet, and like I would have things like walking by, like complete, like I don't know if it would be considered a full body apparition or more like a shadow person, because it was like a human, but it was all black. So I guess by definition that's a shadow person, right? So that happened a couple times, and I only heard it once. There was one time, again, standing at the toilet relieving myself, and something had come up behind me and like whispered in my ear. And I remember, I think when that happened, I instantly knew what it was, but I went into this weird denial mode. I was trying to convince myself that it was something else. But I remember getting so scared that the only thing I could think to do was to call my dog into the bathroom with me, as if my dog wasn't going to come save me, right? But like I just remember like not wanting to be alone in that moment. Really.
Okay.
Um, let me see. I think the second time that the shadow figure had poked its head around the bedroom door frame, the second time it did that, I jumped out of bed and ran towards it, not really quite fully anticipating what the plan was if I got there and it was still there. But fortunately, it wasn't there. But I think that was sort of a turning point for me, where I went from being like really scared of this thing to being like almost a defiant moment of like, this is my home. I'm not going to be afraid of my own home. And so I went into my spare bedroom, not immediately after this incident. I don't know if this was days or weeks later, but I finally got to the point where I went into my spare bedroom and I just had a conversation with this thing. I don't even know if it was listening. I don't even know if it was there. But I think for my own peace of mind, for my own mental health, I had to go in there and have the conversation. And I don't remember verbatim what I said, but it was something along the lines of like, hey, listen, this is my house. You don't live here no more. You're dead. Please move on. I don't want to see you anymore. Yada, yada, yada. And that was coincidentally right around the same time that most of the activity stopped. I will occasionally have like weird stuff happen, but like a lot of the whole, like, I stopped seeing it after that. So I don't know if this was a coincidence or if this thing took words at heart and left. But so that was sort of the reignition. But I didn't start actually doing my own investigations until probably several years after that. I had gone to a public event. I don't know where you guys are from. What state are you from?
Iowa.
Oh, Iowa. Okay, so there's a town called Winchendon, Massachusetts, which is probably 30 minutes from where I live in Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, and they were holding a public ghost event, basically. And I thought, what the heck, right? I've never been to one. I have no idea what to expect, but it sounds interesting. So I went and I did this public event, and I think that kind of sealed the deal for me. Like, I think this is what I meant to do, What's crazy is like the investigation, we did an investigation at the Winchendon Historical Society building, and I don't remember anything too crazy happening. Like, I didn't really have any sort of like any paranormal experiences, but it was just something about that night that it made me want more. It made me want to. I'm like, okay, if I want answers to who, what, when, where, why, and how that all of this is happening in my apartment, this is an avenue to go down, a road to go down. And that's kind of what led me to here today.
Absolutely. Nathan is here. Hello, Nathan. Thanks for joining.
This is another one I investigate with. What's up, Nate and Sue and Jen?
Yep. And Jen says it's definitely fun to investigate with you.
I already Venmoed her the 20 for that compliment, so we don't have to.
And always,
your money's in Venmo right now. Thank you.
Yeah, setting boundaries and claiming your space for sure.
Yeah, was that too long? Was that too big of a long-winded answer? No.
Okay. That was very interesting, because I was going to ask, did that stuff start happening after you did an investigation? But it sounds like that was happening before you even really got started.
Good.
Yeah, that was, I want to say, I believe I moved in here of October of 2013. So this October will be 13 years that I've been here. And like, I want to say within the first 6 months is when I started having strange experiences. I actually still remember the very first experience I had. Again, I'm laying in bed watching TV, and the room we're in right now, which is the living room, I noticed there was something darker than the dark was moving, is the only way I can describe it. It was a pretty close to a pitch dark room. There might have been some ambient light coming from the TV. But other than that, it was a pretty dark room, but I could see this weird shape. It wasn't a very defined shape. It was more of like just a blob type shape, but I could see the movement that it was making. And I remember thinking to myself after that happened, if that had been the only thing I had ever experienced, I would have just convinced myself that I was seeing things, right? Because it's like, yeah, you're like, oh, my eyes have played tricks on me. I'm tired. Yeah, whatever. But then it was only when the other stuff started happening is when I'm like, okay, that was most likely something there. And I lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
Oh, if you had been to an investigation before.
Oh,
okay. But it happened. It seems like it happened so early on, before you really got into investigating, that it not necessarily was something that might have followed you home.
Yeah, I didn't do my first. Well, I actually, when all that stuff was happening, I did have a local Massachusetts paranormal group come here and do an investigation because I was trying to get answers. So I don't know if that's technically my first investigation, but as far as like doing it outside of my home, that was several years later. Yeah.
Okay.
That was quite a ways down the road.
Hey, Scott, welcome in. Welcome in. So you started doing Ghost Quest solo, and you were talking about you do team up with some other people. But do you ever go out and just investigate by yourself at a location?
The only time I'll do solo stuff is if I'm doing a Ghost Quest solo project, usually because it's, it costs a lot of money to do these, to rent out a venue for the night. So typically if I'm going to spend the money to rent a venue out, I'll try and film it and make an episode out of it. Not like I'm making money, but it's like, I might as well do something with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so basically whenever I investigate alone, it's always a Ghost Quest solo project. Yeah. But I came across Jen, who's in the chat room. I think we sort of just had this random meeting on Facebook, and like she was like a PA for actually we're not allowed to talk about it too much because we had to sign NDAs, but for another thing on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Jen invited me to be a contestant on this game show for a YouTube project that's coming up, and she was the PA for that event, and that's how we met. And then I started investigating with her. She investigates under the name Ghosts and Ladies. And then there's Scott and Stu, and they do their KNS Paranormal. So we've been doing a lot of investigating together at public events. Like we were recently at the Emory Estate in Weymouth, the Weymouth Historical Society in Weymouth, and what's the other one in Weymouth? There was one that we just did. I think it was last weekend. It's all a big blur at this point. I don't remember if it was last weekend or the weekend before, but at the Weymouth United Masonic Lodge, the place had never been investigated before. We were all there last week, and so that was cool to be like the first people in there. I got horrible eyes. I'm trying to like squint and read what Jen is saying in the corner.
I invited Jeff to be on the game show, and it turned out we had actually crossed paths at the Mayflower Lodge in Middleborough.
Okay.
That's right. I remember that because what's funny about that is I had went to an event with Dustin from Ghost Hunters and John Zaffis, who was the guy from Haunted Hunter. So they were doing an event together. Apparently they team up a lot. They were doing an event at another Masonic Lodge in Middleborough, Massachusetts. And I want to say Dustin, he's a really I've never met him before that day. And he's a super friendly, outgoing, fun guy to investigate with. Him and John Zaffis are both very good public speakers. It was a very entertaining event, but come to find out, I had investigated with Jen. I didn't even know it. And it was only afterwards when we had met in person and it must have come up in conversation. So we went back and I pulled up the picture from the event and she's literally standing right here. So before I even met her, we had already investigated together. So I thought that was cool. That was,
she just said that you're about 2 feet from each other in the photo.
That was probably about a year ago by now. So yeah, some time had gone by, and then I didn't meet her in person until the Emory Estate event. No, I'm sorry. Was it Emory? Yeah. Okay, Emory. Yes. I think I don't remember now at this point. Maybe Jen can correct me. But, yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun. Last night, the investigation I did last night at the old Weymouth Police Department, which is now the Weymouth Teen Center, that was my first official Ghost Quest solo investigation in 6 months. The last one I did was are you all familiar with the S.K. Pierce Mansion in Gardner, Massachusetts?
Yes. Yeah.
I investigated that in November, and it took me a couple months to edit that episode, and I finally posted that. It's on my YouTube channel now, but yeah, so it had been 6 months before last night before I did an actual Ghost Quest solo event. So it was good to get back into the swing of things. Yes, Jen is confirmed. Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. All right, Tim.
Thanks for sharing your story. It's a fascinating story that happened in 10 feet from where you're at, and you're still there to this day. So that's a very interesting thing. Why do you think? Is there something that happened in your life, or do you think you've always had ability to see spirits?
That's a good question. I've wondered why a lot of this that I've been experiencing in life didn't come till later in life, and I think the honest answer to that is I started drinking and doing drugs at a pretty young age. I was probably 16 years old.
Mhm.
By the time I was 16 years old, I was pretty much drinking alcohol and smoking weed every day after school, and then it eventually led to other things as I get older. So my theory on that is I had probably spent a good 10 years of my life under the influence of one substance or another or all of the above. So like I don't really know how coherent or aware you are of your surroundings when you're blacked out, drunk, passed out in your bed, or you're
Sure.
high, whatever. So that's my theory as to maybe why I didn't notice any of that stuff earlier in life, and only when I sort of, I mean, I've been clear-headed for some time now, but that's my theory anyway, and I'm
Okay.
sticking to it.
Well, that's an interesting story too, because there is things about that when the drugs will open up part of your brain that you really don't use in your life. So
Right.
can something enter at that time? That's a big theory that's out there. I've looked into it. It's pretty interesting. As
You
far
know,
as I
I've
know.
I've also heard like people with near-death experiences can sort of
Yeah,
open up channels,
correct.
and
Hmm.
I've had a couple of those in my life when I was again back when I was a lot younger and a lot dumber. So it's possible maybe that could have opened up some stuff.
Sure, sure. So those are all possibilities. Very true. Very true. So you're interested in cryptids, so am I, because I think, believe me, I'm going to go on a Bigfoot hunt one day. I truly am. I just got to do it, be doing it. But I really want to find what is it I want to look for? The Wendigo. That's the one I really want to find. So, what cryptids are you interested in? And what do you think your theory would be on hunting them?
You had me at Bigfoot. That's that. I would if that was my go-to cryptid, I would probably say Bigfoot. And what's funny that you mentioned Bigfoot is I've actually had the same desire that you've had. It's like I've always wanted to go on a Bigfoot hunt. I don't even know why. Like I don't really plan on finding him, but I
Sure.
think the journey and the adventure would be fun because I actually last summer I was planning on doing a spin-off of Ghost Quest Solo, and it's called Ghost Quest Solo Extra Strange, and I was going to sort of delve into cryptids, and Bigfoot was going to be my first case, but I just kept procrastinating last summer. So now I'm reigniting the Ghost Quest Solo Extra Strange, and I think I'm going to actually do Bigfoot this summer, and I have a little picked out. So yeah, Bigfoot is. I remember like what is it? The Patterson film? Is that the one that the big?
Patterson film. Yep.
I swear I still have memories of like being a little kid watching that, and I think that's what ignited this whole thing. It's like, I've always had a weird fascination with Bigfoot. It's like there's so many theories that he's like interdimensional. He can come and go. He can
Hmm.
almost like the Predator, where like he you can't see him at times.
Correct.
Theory that I've always been sort of interested in the theory that maybe this is some sort of like because Homo sapiens as humans, like I'm not an expert or an anthropologist or anything, but like I know enough to be dangerous that we're not the only humanoid species that has lived on this planet. If you go to like the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, they get all these bones from like some of them from 20,000 years ago, some of them from 100,000 years ago. They're all like pre-Homo sapiens. So maybe at some point during evolution, maybe Bigfoot is like a spin-off of Neanderthal, or maybe like a spin-off of something else. There's so many amazing theories out there. I'm fascinated with them all.
Correct. That's a very good point. I never thought of it that way. That go back that far in time. The reason why we would go look for Bigfoot is because we go look for spirits. We have the anticipation that something's going to be there. So if we can see a ghost, why can't we see Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Why not?
I think isn't it true that like a lot of Native Americans looked at Bigfoot as a very spiritual sort of
Correct.
being?
Correct.
And then there's also the theory, my favorite theory, I don't know if I believe it or not, but the most entertaining theory I've heard is that they say Bigfoot is basically an alien species, and he comes down. You hear, if you're watching So Ancient Aliens, I mean,
yeah.
not that I hold everything they say with a grain, take what they say with a grain of salt, but it's they have very interesting theories, and like on that show they talked about people witnessing a UFO landing and a Bigfoot coming out. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a fun theory to talk about and hypothesize about. Anyway.
No, gotcha. It very well maybe.
Maybe I missed the context of his comment. What was he saying?
That was from when you were talking about sometimes when you do hit that near death experience or what opened up, um, was that, maybe you came really close to thinning the veil and maybe that's what
Sure.
opened up some channels. This is to you, Tim. He also says a Wendigo. He's like, that's scary.
I know they're scary. That's why I want to go find them. But when you hear the folklore, such as like the Bigfoot they talk about, the folklore of the Native Americans, how they talk about Wendigos and they really existed. I mean, there's certain areas of land that they wouldn't go into and they'd offer deer meat and all because they wouldn't enter because they knew something lived there that they weren't going to go near. So is that the Bigfoot? Is that the Wendigo? Hey, let's follow the history and see what we can get there on these legends. That's why I want to do it because same reason that Jeff's talking about. Hey, this is in the history. There's a grain of salt of truth to everything. So why not let it exist? So if Scott wants to go Wendigo hunting, tell him to get in the truck. I'll take him along. That's fine.
So you have to give me the rundown on the Wendigo. I've heard the name Wendigo, but is it supposed to be? What is it? Is it a cryptid? Is it a?
So a Wendigo is actually a medicine man of their tribe that he starts eating human flesh and dies, but doesn't really die. But in order to stay a being, he has to eat humans after this transformation happens to a Wendigo. So that's the lore. That's the story of the Wendigo. The medicine man who starts eating humans, he morphs into this Wendigo and keeps eating humans to stay alive. So
Is
like
that?
like a skinwalker.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say Skinwalker. That sounds very reminiscent of a Skinwalker. How they can they change forms? The theory is that they can change forms into animals and then back to human.
correct. Yeah.
So where is there somewhere in the country where Wendigo is sort of primarily
Yeah.
folk?
In the northwest, upper states, Oregon, Washington, that area, the Wendigo is a big thing up there. So it depends on the tribe, the native tribe, what their story is and what they call it. So they're pretty similar. Yes.
Oh, Jen says it was in Maine too. Okay, maybe I need to do a little bit more research on that one because it's like I've heard the name Wendigo, but as far as my cryptids go, I'm not that familiar with that one. But if you're saying Northwest, maybe there's some, like you said, maybe there's some sort of connection with Bigfoot. Because isn't Bigfoot is primarily in that area too as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
And so it may have some.
they're also saying Minnesota. Scott, I know the stories. Dude, they will eat you. In other words, Tim, don't go.
Don't go. Well, I don't know in Iowa, but like in Massachusetts, like going out in the woods in the middle of the night, there's real dangers there. You could run into a black bear, you can run into a bobcat, or like even like a deer. If you catch an animal off guard, they're going to come at you.
Yeah.
So there's danger there.
Oh, we have mountain lions and bobcats. We have them all here too. So yeah.
Yeah, you got to be aware of that.
Which
The
is
real dangers.
Yeah, the old term, don't be afraid of the dark, be afraid of what's in it. So
Exactly. A lot of people, when they ask me about doing these investigations alone, they think that my fear comes from the ghost, which sometimes it does. But for me, like when I investigate a place like, let's say, Yorktown Memorial Hospital, it's this old abandoned hospital that's literally falling apart. There's no electricity. My concern is I don't want to fall down a flight of stairs and bump my head,
Right.
and they're not going to find me till the morning. You know what I'm saying? Those are like my fears. And
exactly.
speaking of Yorktown, when I was there, the gentleman that runs the place, I think he's like the maintenance man. He keeps up the building. He told me, he's like, yeah, I just want to let you know that sometimes people, sometimes the teenagers in the neighborhood, they get bored and they like to break into the hospital. He's like, if that happens, just call 911. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, great. So on top of everything else I have to worry about, now I'm worried about people breaking in to mess with me. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm in I don't want to curse, but I'm in the middle of nowhere, Texas. What's the response time to 911 if I have to call the police? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they going to come in time to save me? So
Yeah.
there's other dangers besides ghosts when you do investigations. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
That's a very good point. Very good point.
Yep.
So we'll switch it up a little bit here. So when you do your solo investigations, do do you have a protection? And if you do, how does that work? And on top of that, what do you see? What do you experience? And tell us about a real spooky, scary experience that you may have had during those.
I'll give the honest answer with the protection. I probably don't do that, have a ritual as much as I should. I remember a while back, a friend of mine had gave me a St. Michael medallion and some holy water. And I'm not a very religious person, but I think it's almost like an insurance policy for me. Maybe that's the way that it shouldn't be taken as, but I kind of look at it as like just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had this little St. Michael medallion that I used to investigate with, and I ended up losing it, so I had to buy another one. So I guess as far as rituals go, that's probably for like protection. That's my only ritual, but I consider doing more. Yeah, I got to do more. What was the second part of the question?
Oh, sorry. And so when you do your soul investigations, what do you experience? And tell us about a spooky time that was a scary one.
I think the one that always comes to mind when I think of probably the most intense paranormal experience I had was my first Ghost Quest solo episode when I had flown to Yorktown. I flew into San Antonio, drove to Yorktown, and I spent the night investigating Yorktown Memorial Hospital. I don't know if you're familiar with that place or not. Have you guys ever seen?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah, check it out. Like I think every group has been there at this point. All the ones that we know of, like TV and the YouTube guys. But so Yorktown Memorial Hospital is an old abandoned hospital that was built in the 50s by Catholic nuns, and I think they turned it into a drug rehab at one point, and now it's just a collapsing building. And it's a 30,000 square foot building, and for some reason, in the basement of this Catholic hospital, there's a jail cell in the basement. I don't know why it's there. I've talked about this before. I still hadn't figured it out. Like it's literally like a cage in the middle of a room. It looks like an old school, like if you were to watch like an old John Wayne Western, like the old jail cells, that's kind of what it looks like. So I was in that jail cell in the basement, and I was sitting there attempting to make communication with the spirit box. I had my EMF detector in my hand, and I suddenly got a wave of what I can only describe as, it was like, I think initially I was using the word electricity to describe it, but I'm not sure if electricity is the correct way to describe it. It was really more like an intense energy. It was like I got hit with a wave of energy, and I'm standing here with the K2 meter in my hand, and like as this wave of energy hit me, my K2 meter just started pinning red, which is 20 plus milligauss, and that probably lasted about only 30 seconds. But maybe, I don't know if me describing it is giving it justice, but I'm telling you, when you're in this, when you're in an abandoned hospital in the basement in a jail cell by yourself in complete darkness, and you get hit with this wave of energy, it was quite intense. So that's the one I always sort of revert back to. That's actually on my Yorktown episode on YouTube. If you want to go check it out, it's there. But if I have to pick one, that's probably going to be it.
Okay. Sounds like a pretty intense experience. So
yeah, what gives it a little bit more credibility to me when you're investigating places like Yorktown is there's no electricity in this building. So like, I think it's less likely that the K2 meter was giving a false reading. My cell phone on airplane mode, and it's always great when, personal experiences are tough because I'm sure we've all had them, but you can't really prove it. So at least I was able to have some sort of validation with the K2 meter at the same. I find it to be less likely that it was a coincidence when the experience I was having was being validated with the K2 meter. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that would be. We've been in some of those places with no electricity, so that'd be. And we've had K2 meter hit, so that's pretty interesting to find. So that's an interesting one. Brenda, you got anything right at the moment?
Well, Jen says 30 seconds is a long time to experience something like that. And that's true. Like that 30 seconds seems like minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it seems like a really long time. And I know we've experienced like that energy jolt before. So definitely can agree with that intense feeling that it brings. Because your brain automatically goes to, what is it like? And I think more people actually do try to debunk or make sense of what's happening without actually thinking about it. Yeah, that's crazy. Yorktown, that building just from seeing pictures and stuff of it, that building is quite daunting.
Mm.
Um, like Indiana State Sanatorium, that's another one. It
Mhm.
just, like when you see it, it's just that creepy vibe all over the place, and I get that from looking at Yorktown as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Also,
yeah,
they got black things running out of the woods in the Indiana State about back. So cryptids.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah, they're starting to get sightings of them. So there's been 3 sightings that we know of, and people claim it was 8 foot tall, it was black, and it was running across an open field into the building. So,
Mhm.
Where is that called? The Indiana State what?
Indiana
Sanatorium.
State Sanatorium.
Okay, I'm gonna have to remember that one. There's so many amazing places that need to be investigated, but there's not just not enough time and money.
Yeah.
I'm actually going back to Moundsville next Friday. I'm going to be doing my next Ghost Quest solo episode there. Have you guys ever been to Moundsville, or are you familiar with Moundsville?
Not yet.
Know where it is.
What made me think of that is you were talking about the vibe you get looking at Yorktown, because it has that, it almost looks like a haunted hospital. You know, it's got that vibe. But what's cool about Moundsville, if you look at it, it looks like a medieval castle. It was a prison built in like 800
Right.
something. So it definitely has that vibe to it, you know. But
Mhm.
I remember like when the backstory of how Ghost Quest Solo initially started was I had the concept of investigating by myself for some time, but because I had investigated with a group of people, it was never really going to go anywhere. I think it was always something in my mind that was just going to be an idea that was never going to go anywhere. But when the group thing didn't work out, I guess I had already I was supposed to do a group event in Texas. That didn't end up working out. So at that point I had already bought my money for my airline ticket and my hotel. I'm like, all right, at this point I have no choice but to go. I can't afford to not go to Texas. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to fly to Texas, I might as well take this concept I have, Ghost Quest Solo, and do something with it. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity. I've already spent all the money to go to Texas. And the last time I was in Texas, before that, I had investigated Yorktown and Black Swans. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back to the Yorktown hospital. And like this concept that I had for some time now, I'm like, let's do something with it. And I don't remember if I had even had the name at that point, because I think initially I was going to call myself Ghost Quest, but I had Googled it and somebody had already had Ghost Quest. So I'm like, all right, I'll Ghost Quest Solo. And it was sort of a happy accident because I think Ghost Quest Solo is a better name anyway. But I remember flying to Texas and like I was sitting in my hotel room prepping like we all do. We make sure the batteries are charged, make sure the equipment's ready to go. And like I was so scared at the thought of investigating this place by myself, because there's sort of different stages of like when you're planning an investigation. Like there's the idea phase. You're sitting at home, you're in a safe space, the sun's out, your dogs are there, everything's happy. You're like, yeah, let's go spend the night in a haunted prison. Fast forward to you're in Texas at the hotel getting ready, and you're like, okay, I have to do this now. The thing I was thinking about, I have to actually do it now. So it's a lot harder to do it than to think about it. So like I remember being in the hotel room and like, I think I told the story in the last podcast. Like my hands literally went numb from fear. I don't know if you've ever experienced it. I've never experienced it before. I've never had it happen since. My hands went numb and I was so scared. I remember thinking to myself, I was trying to like talk myself out of doing the investigation. I was like, you ever like do something and you're like, then you start having second thoughts and you're like, it's almost like this weird defense mechanism that your brain has where you're trying to like talk yourself out of doing it. And I was really close. I was probably that close to convincing myself to not do it. But the only thing that sort of put me over that threshold of doing it is I had spent a pretty good amount of money to fly to Texas. You know, we're probably talking over $1,000. And I had flew 2,000 miles. So I'm like, all right, I have to do this. And that was sort of like the antithesis. Like that was sort of the genesis of Solo. And at that point in time, when I had did Ghost Quest Solo episode 1, it was really just a proof of concept. Like, hey, I've had this idea in the back of my mind for some time. I'm sure we all have ideas. Like, hey, like you were talking about, you'd love to do a Bigfoot investigation someday, right? We all have those ideas in the back of our mind. So it's like, no, that was my idea. I want to do this Ghost Quest Solo thing. It's like, that episode 1 in Yorktown was really just proof of concept. Like, can I do this without effing it up too bad? It's really what my train of thought was, not knowing at the time, am I going to do another one? There could have been a million reasons why there might have only ever been one Ghost Quest solo. You know what I mean? Like, I could have come up with 100 excuses, but after I did that first one, and it made me want more. I really started to sort of enjoy the process and going through everything, you know. And then, like, do you guys edit your videos? Do you guys do editing at all?
Yeah.
I sort of I had never had any experience editing whatsoever, and I'm sure if you watch my Yorktown episode, you'll understand. There's no experience. Like, I'd like to think I got a little bit better, but like, it was really just more out of like I felt like I didn't have a choice. I actually considered like paying somebody to do my editing for me, but I'm like, I can't imagine how much that would cost to pay somebody to sit down and edit my videos. So really, just out of necessity, I kind of taught myself how to edit, and so and here I am now, like on episode, like I don't even know if I'm episode 6 right now, and it's been an amazing journey. And I'm about to do, I think it's episode 7. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there. But yeah, again, Moundsville, I'm going to West Virginia next week, and I'm going to be doing episode 7 of Ghost Quest Solo. And it's like, it's such a crazy, like, I went from thinking like episode 1, can I do this without screwing it up, to now here I am. And it's like, it's been such an amazing journey for the last 2 years.
Cool.
And hopefully many more to come.
Awesome. Yes. I am trying to learn how to edit videos, and mine are not good either, but it is what it is.
Right. Well, I don't even know if I feel comfortable. It's like, I'm still definitely in the learning process. I don't want to sit here and like portray myself as some editor, because I'm still learning and figuring it out myself. You know what I mean? Sure. So I'm still a novice, absolutely. But I sort of enjoy the process. Like, it is a little bit cringy. I've gotten better with it, but I don't know if you struggle with this. But like, when I first started editing myself, it's a little cringy staring at yourself for like 6 hours. Nobody likes the sound of their own voice. So imagine that for 6 hours straight when you're editing or when you're watching yourself. Like, oh, I didn't realize how much I picked my nose.
Yeah.
You know, like,
or wow, I really gotta stop filming somebody's butt. Or yeah.
So it's a learning process. I like to think I've gotten better at it, even though I'm still a lot to go. I think I picked up on some weird habits that I have that I've gotten better at, not touching my face too much. I tend to do this for some reason. But like, it's weird, the things that you discover about yourself when you're staring at yourself like that. But again, I forgot where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Oh, editing. Yeah, Jen says it's tedious, and having ADHD helps.
Yeah,
It helps.
I don't think I could be an editor for a living, because I think when you have to do something for a job, you sort of lose some of that fun aspect of it. Well, I'm currently doing just enough editing where I still enjoy the process, and I want to keep it going. Actually, I will intentionally not spend too much time editing, because I don't want it to become a chore. I don't want it to become like, I got to edit again. Sure. I want to keep it fun. So like, I'm still in that phase of like, I'm still learning and still having fun with it. So I think that helps the process when you enjoy what you're doing. That helps the process. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I'm saying. So
if you guys have questions, please throw them in the comments. So a couple other things on here. You said your other passion in life are your dogs, photography, and jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess keeping in theme with lifelong passions, you know, completely unrelated, but also they were all there at the same time, like animals, the paranormal, and martial arts. I mean, I grew up as a child of the 80s, so like I fell in love with martial arts. I mean, everything was karate back then. Like there was a karate dojo on every street corner. I don't know where you guys were, but it was a big thing back in the day. Like obviously the Karate Kid, any Chuck Norris movie, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all those guys. So I had always had a lifelong passion for martial arts, but I remember being a little kid, for some reason, like I was afraid to sign up for karate classes. I don't know why. This weird anxiety of the unknown, I guess. So I was always too afraid to do it. And then I got to be, let's see, I think I was 40 or 41 when I finally signed up for martial arts, because I got to the point, I'm like, listen, if I don't do this now, I'm not getting any younger. I'm 41 years old. If I don't do this now, when am I going to do it? And it was really hard to walk into that class as a 41-year-old man for my first jiu-jitsu class. It was frightening, and I almost quit a couple times, but I've been doing it now for 4 years, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's one of those things you didn't realize that you needed it in your life until it comes into your life. Now you can't see yourself without it. That's how jiu-jitsu is for me. Like, not only is it's healthy in the sense of like, you're getting good exercise, but they call it jiu-jitsu like the mental chess, because it really is the thinking man's game. And there's a camaraderie that develops. It's this weird irony. I don't know if irony is the right word, or like you're on the mats with your friends trying to strangle and murder each other, pretend murder, not real murder. There's this weird bond that gets developed with these people that you train with. It becomes, I feel like I've developed some of the closest friendships, relationships I think I've ever had in the last 4 years, training people on the mats. And again, so like that was lifelong. I typically train on Sunday, but I've been a little bit lazy. I didn't go today, so I'm going to call myself out for being lazy. I should have trained this morning, but I didn't. But the same thing with the animals. The animals was also something that, along with the paranormal and along with the martial arts, it's something that had always been a passion of mine. Like, I remember having memories of a little kid where, like, when a bird would fall out of the nest, I would be the kid that would come over and try to save it. Or like my friend Lennon, he's now a Boston police officer. We used to live next door to each other in Fitchburg, and like, there was a stray dog that came along one day, and we tried to save it, and we wanted to like make it our pet. And then like we started what we thought was like an animal rescue. I guess I don't think we called it an animal rescue back then, but like today you would call it an animal rescue. Because we came across this stray dog, we're like, okay, we're going to go around the city and save animals. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know like if you're born with it, if something inspired me, but like to this day, I only have two because one of my dogs recently passed away, but like I have two senior rescues right now, and it's just something. I'll show you one of them right here. This is Phoebe. She's one of my senior rescues. Can you see her?
Oh yeah, she's cute.
So like, the passion I've had for animals, I've sort of like channeled that into rescuing specifically senior and disabled cats and dogs. I did cats for 8 years, but I can't do cats anymore because when they get sick, they pee everywhere. So I'm like, I love cats, but I can't have them in the house anymore. So for the last, I don't know how many years now, I did cats for 8 years. I've been doing dogs for a while. Where like, they don't typically stick around too long. Obviously, when you adopt a 16-year-old cat, they don't stick around for long. But I feel like the satisfaction I get from helping these animals is, I think it's something that's in your soul. I think you either have it or you don't. Like, it's horribly sad. What usually gets me is like the story. Like one of the dogs I rescued, he came from Texas. He was like this. He came from like this horrible neglect situation. They found him. He was in such poor condition. They were going to euthanize him. They're like, yeah, he's a lost cause. But this woman in Texas rescued him literally like 20 minutes from being euthanized and brought him back to life. And it's like, the thought of somebody being so cruel to an animal, it makes me feel like I have to come in and sort of like, I want to give that animal like the best few years of its life. Even if it lived a horrible life, I want to make sure the last few years are a loving life. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where we're going. Here we are. I'm distracting myself with conversation. If I'm going down the road, just pull me back in.
Yeah, no, that's totally awesome. That's awesome that you do that for them. And your persistence or your commitment has paid off, because you say you're a 2-stripe blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes. Yeah.
So
a lot of mat time for those stripes.
But even though you felt like quitting, you did it, and now you have that to pay for it, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, you know what? There was only one time, the thought of quitting had probably crossed my mind several times, but there was only one time where I really seriously considered it, when I had gotten injury. I partially dislocated my shoulder. And I was like, after that happened, I was like, you know what? F jiu-jitsu, F these guys, F that. And fortunately, I had a little bit of a moment of clarity where I realized that the only reason I got injured is because I had refused to tap. What you're supposed to, if somebody has you in a submission, if you don't tap, something bad is going to happen. You're going to get your arm broken, or you're going to pass out from a strangle. So like, it was sort of a humbling moment. Like I had come to the conclusion, like if I had just tapped, I wouldn't have got injured, you know. So I'm glad I sort of had that moment of clarity. But like, yeah, I mean, it's something that I can't explain. That it's something I can't explain. That it's a true passion of mine. I guess I'm stumbling on my words here, but yeah, I love it a lot. I couldn't see my life without it.
Yeah, Kathy, she's a member of our team. Bless you on these beautiful souls of saving and caring of these fur loves.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, Tim.
Oh, the story is great. Your passion to do everything that you do is really awesome. I admire it completely. So I think that's a great thing. And hopefully, so it sounds like jiu-jitsu, you should be able to handle yourself in those solo situations if somebody breaks in, I hope. But no, I'm joking. I'm not serious.
I hope so. I'd rather have it than not need it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to like portray myself as like Billy Badass because I train jiu-jitsu, but certainly, God forbid, if the worst case scenario ever happens, I'd like to think I'd rather have it than not have it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great thing. What you do is you got a lot of passion. That's really great. That helps you do it. So I just got one more question. So randomly, is there a paranormal show other than Bigfoot and the Patterson film that got you involved or interested when you were younger? You say you watched them all like we all did. So
I think one of my OG paranormal shows was Unsolved Mysteries. The original Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stapp, like the OG. I want to say I don't remember if they specifically did a Bigfoot episode. They might have done some Bigfoot episodes, but I do remember them doing UFO episodes. They did some UFO episodes. A lot of it was like missing person stuff, but they did randomly delve into like the paranormal. So that was probably my OG paranormal show. But fast forward to years later, the shows that sort of reignited that passion, like I know there's like a big controversy with Zach Bagans right now. I don't really want to get into that, but the honest answer is Ghost Adventures was my jam back in the day, and I was still to this day. I think the first 10 seasons of that show is pretty good. When it was like just Nick, Zach, and Aaron just kind of doing their thing, just three dudes with cameras, before it got weird and crazy like it is now. So yeah, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Paranormal State. I loved what Ryan did with that. Even though they mostly did sort of like residential stuff. But I liked the way that Ryan would sort of, you could tell it was a very serious matter for him. He took it very serious trying to help people. So
right.
I like to think I was inspired by his investigation techniques as well.
Yeah, we all get inspired by that because I think we use those techniques today from all of them. So we learn from all those shows. I mean, don't watch them and go out and go ghost hunting, but you learn the techniques from those shows to what to do, equipment, stuff like that. So cool.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Unsolved Mysteries was an awesome show. So
yeah, did you know they brought it back on Netflix? They redid it, but they don't have a narrator, so it's a little weird. But
gotcha. Okay, I'll try to look it up. Oh, I appreciate the time talking with you and everything. It's been a great show. You're an inspiration to a lot of ghost hunters out there. So I don't know about the solo thing. I like to protect myself. I like to go with two people. Solo, I'm not 100% on that yet. So, but
my final parting words, I'll say, face your fears. Don't let your fears ever prevent you from doing anything. Whether it's jiu-jitsu, like doing the jiu-jitsu tournament, or doing a solo investigation, I think everybody needs to do things that scare the crap out of them. It's good for you. The soul, you become more able to handle adversity in life, because when you accomplish something that you were afraid of and you realize, okay, that wasn't that bad. You know, we're so much more capable than what we realize we are. And that's part of the reason why I like jiu-jitsu and I like to do the Ghost Quest solo stuff.
No, oh, cool. I got my reasons for not ghost hunting separately, but we won't go into that. But anyway, we'll give it back to Brenda.
Does anybody have any questions for Jeff? So Jen says, great show. Nathan says, great show. But yeah, now's your time to ask a question because we got a few minutes left. Ask your questions. Kathy says, take care of you on those solos.
Yeah.
I think he's got it handled.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous for my
Oh, at
Mounds.
Moundsville.
It's a little bit scary. I've done it enough times now where I've acknowledged that the fear is really just psychological. It's in my head, but it's still this one. This one's going to be a lot. This one's going to be. I think I'm circling back around to the original fear that I had when I did Yorktown. The thought of, because I've already investigated Moundsville a few years ago, so I do know some of the stories of like what has taken place there. I mean, a lot of negative energy, a lot of they executed a lot of people there. Obviously, it's prison, so a lot of people die by suicide, by murder. So,
All right, couple of questions here for you. Where are you located at? Because Kathy got in late.
I born and raised in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and I'm currently back there now.
Massachusetts.
Central.
And then Jen wants to know how your dogs react to any activity in your apartment.
It's funny that you asked that because the dog that I just held in front of the camera, Phoebe, there was a period of time where she was sitting like right here, and like she would stare up at this corner of the room, and I never could figure out why she was doing it. I have pictures and video of it somewhere, and my first, trying to be a rational person with coming up with logical explanations, I thought to myself, well, maybe it's a mouse in the wall and she hears it. But then I realized not long before this was happening, I had a mouse that was living under my stove for like 2 weeks before I finally caught the thing. The dogs paid no attention to that. So like, I always wondered, what was she staring at? But, and it's really creepy when you're sitting in your living room watching TV and your dog's just like this, just staring at the ceiling, like, okay, dog, what's going on? Like, it just makes you wonder, like, are you seeing something I'm not seeing? So the short answer, I can't tell you if she was reacting to something paranormal, but there was definitely a couple of times where she did act strange. So yeah.
And when you catch them doing that, because I have a couple of cats and they'll do that too. And when you catch them and you try to call out to them, they don't acknowledge you.
Oh yeah.
My cats don't. They're so focused that they're like, you don't even exist. Does that happen with your dogs?
Just a few times with Phoebe where she would stare off into the ceiling. Anybody that follows me on Facebook, what I'll do is after this, I'll try and find those pictures, and I think there's even a video, so I can show you guys what I was talking about. But yeah.
And then animals are very attuned. Yeah, it's crazy how animals react to that.
It is.
Sure.
Now that you think about it, I don't remember if it was Phoebe or another dog would oftentimes like stare into my dark kitchen. That used to creep me out. Again, I don't know if it's a ghost, but it's creepy nonetheless. So now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it, I think I have had it happen a few times. But yeah.
So crazy. All right. Well, that is awesome. We appreciate you being on the show today. We always let our peeps know we'll circle back in a 6 months-ish, have you back on the show, get some updates of where you've been, any new things that are happening.
And so how do we find you on YouTube? What do we look for?
You can find me at Ghost Quest Solo on YouTube and Facebook. And yeah, I'll be able to update you guys on my Moundsville investigation. And I'm also doing Pennhurst in the fall. I'm doing Moundsville on Friday and Pennhurst on Saturday. So we'll be able to talk about those two investigations next time I see you.
Perfect. Perfect. Any other socials or just the two?
Oh, I'm on TikTok too, but I'm more primarily on Facebook. Facebook Ghost Quest Solo.
Perfect. Kathy says, good to meet you. Y'all have a good day.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. The hour went by quick. Hopefully I didn't talk too much.
It was a great podcast.
Yeah, right. So you did find something to talk about for an hour.
See how that happens? He was all nervous before we started, you guys. But yeah, no, it was great. We will be back Wednesday night with Ghostlight Paranormal. And then we have a couple of podcast appearances tomorrow night with Verona Ghost and Tuesday with Within the Cauldron. So you guys tune in for those. Other than that, we will catch you Wednesday night on another edition. Bye.
Pleasure meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Jeff.